Tompkins County's Workers Center in the Coalition for Sustainable Economic Development and the Campaign for Renewable Energy. She was also arrested in the efforts to defend Senegal Lake. So let's welcome Kathy Russel to the stand.
So we heard about this agenda of extraction. It's a sucking agenda. Yeah. It sucks wealth from human labor and from the earth. Their agenda sucks. Say it, their agenda sucks. We're sick of that sucking agenda. We have a new agenda. We have a new agenda. We know that that extractive agenda is propped up by a fossil fuel infrastructure, and that infrastructure is a lie. The agenda is propped up by lies. The lies that we environmentalists are anti-development. The lies that closing the Cayuga power plant will hurt labor and hurt the community. We know the real truth. The truth is that the extraction and accumulation of wealth at the expense of the earth and human labor is destructive. They say we are destructive. Are we the ones that are destructive? No. Their sucking agenda is the one that's destructive. Do we like this agenda? No! Shut down their agenda. Do we want a new agenda? Yes! Can we build it? Yes! We can build it, and we are building it. Right now, we've been building it. And we follow in the footsteps of those who have been building it, not tearing it down. For millions of years, I mean, humans have been right here in our area, living and building orchards and living in harmony with nature for thousands of years. And we follow, holding hands with them in their spirit. And we know that we cannot create a new fossil-free economy without standing in solidarity with labor. We know that labor builds, that service labor takes care of us and teaches us. For us, the dignity of labor and the resiliency of our communities are not afterthoughts. They are forethoughts. They are priorities. Fossil-free Tompkins and the Campaign for Renewable Energy has joined with the Coalition for Sustainable Economic Development. Watch for it. Watch for it. This coalition includes people of faith, elected officials, educators, leaders from building bridges, and others who struggle against racism, those who struggle against homophobia. It includes organizers from the Workers Center like me. It includes people from unions like the IBEW, the Carpenters, and Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 112. What else do we know? We know that we must listen to what labor and frontline communities ask of us. The labor movement's most essential value is solidarity and mutual support. Can we stand with labor as it fights for living wages and diversity, as it demands that all of these hotels that are going up, all of these housing projects that they want are built with local labor, with diverse labor, with living wage labor. Sí se puede, sí se puede. Can we stand alongside courageous outrageous political leaders like Barbara Lifton. We can educate ourselves, and I know some of you, you're not really up on what the labor movement is doing, but there is a growing surge in the labor movement today. It's in the AFL, it's in the Communication Workers of America, it's in the SEIU. Let us learn from the Labor Network for Sustainability and its labor movement plan to address climate change. It proposes a World War II-like mobilization led by the government and public investment to produce full employment whose growth, yes development, would generate the resources necessary to convert the U.S. to renewable energy and provide a just transition for workers, communities, and carbon-dependent regions. We're all carbon-dependent. Do we want to be carbon-dependent? No. We know that the only way around the climate crisis is through it. We'll face it head-on with our brains, our eyes, and our hearts. Si se puede. Si se puede.
Thank you, Kathy Russell. Up next, we have Anna Kelles. She's a community advocate and organizer in the area. She's been doing this for years. She grew up here, and she does what she does because she loves this city. She wears many hats, I'm sure we all know, but today she's here as a founding member of the DeWitt Park Neighborhood Association. So let's welcome Anna Kelles to the stage.
Hey everyone, so I'm legally blind, so there's no use for me to ever have notes because I won't be able to read them. So I'm going to speak from my heart, and as most people know, I have a lot to say, so I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. There are two independent things that I wanted to talk to you about that I think it's very, very important that we're educated about. And they're disparate topics, so bear with me. The first one, I've been getting information. I know that we've got this ban. We haven't got necessarily all of it in writing in 6 months, but there's a lot that's still happening that we all need to be really aware of, which is they might not be fracking here, but there's fracked gas from Pennsylvania being brought here to be sent to our treatment plants. And the other thing that was the most disturbing bit of information that I've discovered recently is that it's being used because it's so salinated on our highways as a substitute for the salt to keep the ice off of our highways, which of course we then know goes immediately into our groundwater. So I encourage everybody to educate yourselves and to take action about how the fracked gas and the waste that's being used, the brine that's being used, is being treated and brought to our state. You can go to riverkeepers.com if you want to educate yourself on that. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to talk to you all about that's hugely important that I want everybody to take part in is the density issue in our city. We actually need density in our city. The demand for housing is extremely high. Affordable housing, rental housing, homeowner housing, affordable housing, senior housing. I maybe have mentioned a couple of them. I'm not fully listening to my own words right now, but we need housing. And part of the reason we need housing is because if we don't have it, it creates sprawl. And then we take over the farmland and we take over the beautiful nature surrounding the city. We want to keep it dense and tight here so we all have a place to live. That's very critical. But what is happening in our city is that there is a message being sent out that density at all costs. Right. And there's a panic that's going on in our government. Build it big and don't think about living wage. Don't worry about affordable, don't worry about sustainability of the buildings if it gets in the way of building density. If we can do both, great. But the priority is just get as many in as possible. And what we want in this town is conscientious smart growth. How many people here have heard of smart growth? Woo! What does smart growth mean? Smart growth means that you create buildings that draw people in, that engage with people, that focus on pedestrian housing so we don't need cars, that provide places where people can work and live in the same place so that we don't all have to drive to where we work. Those are very conscientious developments. And we need to systematically support construction in this town that supports mixed use, adaptive reuse buildings that are going up and not go into a huge panic, and support massive buildings that don't fit with the culture and the scale of our town. So there's one development. We need to do it building by building by building. There's one site that you guys can all track. It's called ithacabuilds.com. There's a local resident who keeps track of all the developments going on in our town. Let's educate ourselves. Let's all take a moment, continue to go to that website so that we know what developments are going up. So there's one that I want all of your support on. I grew up in this town. I went to summer camp at the library, the old Tompkins County Library. There are two projects that are being looked at right now. This is the last thing I'll mention. And this is something you can do right now to help our city. Two proposals that are being looked at seriously. One is an adaptive reuse project, meaning that they would keep the foundation and frame of the existing old Tompkins County Library that's across from DeWitt Park. 90% of the embedded energy, 2,000 tons of material, would be saved from going into our landfills if we can encourage the legislators to select the adaptive reuse Franklin Development Project. It would use a huge amount of solar paneling, so we would have alternative energy. They would not build natural gas infrastructure, which is what we're trying to prevent. And they would create a building that would keep all the greenscape and focus on pedestrian walkability and walkable neighborhoods with a cafe downstairs, a health cooperative on the second floor, and homeowner options on the third and fourth floor. Those aren't getting built in this town. Rentals are going up because developers make more money on rentals than homeowner options. We need homes that people can buy and become a part of this neighborhood. That is the development that we're looking for. The other development is the Travis Hyde development. So the adaptive reuse is Franklin. The people of Travis Hyde, they're good people. This is nothing against the developer. They've been in this town for a really long time. Let's not make it personal. All it means is, what is the best development for this site is adaptive reuse. There's 1 million square feet of undeveloped and underdeveloped land that has been earmarked for development in this town to promote density. Let's encourage them to build the development for Travis Hyde somewhere else and not put 2,000 tons of waste into our landfill. So I'm going to ask you all, thank you, to write to your legislators. We have 1.5 weeks left. We are so close. July 7th, legislators meet to vote on this, and we need to show them as a community that we do not stand for increasing fossil fuel development, and we stand for adaptive reuse. We want to minimize waste, and we don't throw away buildings that are totally functional. So July 7th is a legislative meeting. It's at the old county courthouse, 121 East Court Street. Please show up. Vote. Tell the legislators what you stand for. Write to your legislators between now and July 7th. And if you want to have anything else to do with this, to help us out in this, to let the legislators know, please come and talk to me, because I have a huge to-do list, and I'm happy to share it. So thank you so much.
Kelles. Next up, we have Marguerite. She is the project manager of Black Oak Wind Farm, and she'll be able to see those turbines right from her house.
Thank you much. I don't have anything terribly organized to say, except that What we're doing here in Tompkins County, fossil-free Tompkins, with Black Oak, and a lot of the solar development that's going on, is being watched around the state. Nobody else is doing as much as we are here in so organized a fashion, and so passionately, as we all are as a community. And so I want to point that out to you, because sometimes it's easy to forget what an island we are culturally in the rest of this state, and how exciting the stuff is that we are working for here. Nobody else is having fossil fuel Westchester rallies in quite the same way. So I want to thank you all for that. And I want to say that projects like Black Oak, where real local people are the owners of some pretty big infrastructure, is not really done in most places, but we can do a lot more of it. People often ask me, what takes so long about this wind farm? Why are you still at it 8 years later? Why isn't it up yet? And that's because project development is really filled with lots of unsexy details that take a long time to get through. And if we're going to build community-owned solar, you know, there's a community choice solar initiative going on at the state level. If we want to do some of that around here, it's also going to involve a lot of very unsexy details to do with interconnection to the grid and all kinds of permitting level stuff. It's dreadfully boring, but you've got to slog through it in order to build the stuff we want, which is a fossil-free grid that we can actually get to. So I also encourage you all who are also in the trenches alongside me building stuff, that it's lots of unsexy meetings and lots of slogging it through. So don't lose hope. Don't lose energy just because it's been taking you a while to get your own projects done, because it always takes a long time, and if it was easy, someone else would have already done it.